Hi, what's up everybody? It's me, Blacklemori, back at it again. I'm making this video because there's not a lot of content out there about birthday replacement or separation surgery from people who've actually gotten it. It's mostly just PowerPoints for med students or like those spam text-to-speech bots that read Wikipedia. So I thought I'd talk about my experience with birthday duodecification surgery. So if that's a treatment you're pursuing, you can get an idea of what it's all about. So I think my birthday had always been a little bit inflamed. Apparently a large number of people, their birthdays are inflamed. And those with leap year birthdays are actually especially at risk. But most of the time it's benign. But sometimes things happen that cause it to advance to more severe inflammation. So the medical term for this is birthditis, or let me see if I can get this right. Gestachronocarditis, which is what the doctors called it when I was in the ward, which was really confusing because no one told me that's what birthdayitis was technically. So I don't want to get into too much detail about how my birthday got inflamed. Let's just say it was a gone wrong, gone sexual type moment. I'm not really embarrassed about it, but other people were involved and they want their privacy, so I'll leave it at that. So this was around 2021, and it was only like 2 years later that I really realized the symptoms were becoming worse and worse, and I was like, okay, this is wrong. Something's going on, and I actually went and sought out medical help. So the thing about severe birthday inflammation, sorry, my eyes are hurting today. So the thing about severe birthday inflammation is that on a normal day, you won't notice it. It's only when your birthday starts coming closer, do the symptoms start becoming more apparent. So the first thing that happens is like severe deja vu. Sometimes time quakes. That happened for me a lot. But I kind of assumed it was like a temporary thing that would go away. Also around the time of your birthday, because inflammation also leads to swelling, you'll find that your birthday kind of like smears to the surrounding days, like it's larger. And that happened to me as well, which I didn't realize that was the symptom. And if it's really severe, which how it got for me because I basically ignored it, is that you can get caught in a time loop or two. So I was caught in one in the spring of 2023 for like a week. And that was just brutal. So that's when I finally resolved to go to the emergency room about it. It's like that was the sort of last straw. I couldn't ignore it anymore. So intake at the hospital was really swift. It's a really easy thing to diagnose because symptoms are so specific. So they had me in the chronology ward pretty fast. I can't remember the exact timing because time was quaking for me a lot. Things were really messed up at that time. But the doctors were nurses, and the nurses were super nice. They got me stabilized. Generally what they do is they celebrate like a small non-birthday observance in order to settle your system and like ground you in the present. So that day I was in was Arbor Day actually. So they brought in like this tiny little sapling and like it's so cute just thinking back on it. They brought in like this little pot of like soil for me to like pot the sapling. And they also had a specialist come in. He was like a conservation expert. He was named Kevin. Love you, Kevin. Love you, Kevin. And that settled me down pretty quick. So that was nice of them. They also gave me a wristwatch that chimed every hour, like a cuckoo clock. It made like that like stereotypical cuckoo clock sound. And that also really grounded me in the time. So that was helpful. So I was in the hospital for another day to wait for the chronologist to be free so that we can do the surgery. And he came into my room when we talked about options. And so there's really only two options, and they always involve surgery. So actually there's three, but the third one is bad. So the first option is to move the birthday to a different part of the calendar. Usually antipodal, which means like 6 months back or forward, depending on how you look at it. So basically the opposite side of the year, as far away from the original time as possible. But the problem with that is the chance of it getting inflamed again is pretty high. And then you have to move it again. There's also a chance of it getting rejected in the new spot, which means you have to get more surgery. So that's pretty bad. The second option is to get duodecification sorry, it's a hard word, is to get duodecification surgery, which is what I went for. Basically, what they do is they split the birthday into like 12 equal chunks, and they place them equidistant to each other along the calendar, like once per month. So that's a better tolerated procedure, and if you get inflammation again, it's normally confined to just one of those 12 pieces. And it's so small at that point that the symptoms become manageable even if it is inflamed, so you don't really have to do anything about it. So there's still complications with duodecification. One of the big ones is that it's possible for one of the pieces to get rejected, and then it has to be put in with one of the other pieces, which increases the risk of rejection for that place and so on. So it can sometimes lead to a cycle of surgery. And the other problems is the pieces might not be equally sized. If your surgeon is really good, like most of them are, it's going to be the right size. But they can also migrate around the calendar because they're so small. And then when they migrate, they can sometimes join together and then clump up. And then when they get inflamed, it's bad. So they have to like do more surgery. So it sounds like more surgery, but the thing is that the complications are less frequent than the total like replacement and moving surgery. So ultimately, like the chance of you having to do more surgery is substantially less. And then the third option is to get it transplanted from someone who recently died. And that's like extremely rare. That's extremely rare because they need to not only be the same age and have had the same birthday as you, they also had to have died within the last few days, which is like super rare. And it's only when you like have really severe rejection and you fully need a new birthday that they'll like stabilize you for like months in order to wait for someone to come along who is not only like registered to do like birthday transplants, like as a birthday donor, but then dies during an opportune time and in an opportune place. So my heart goes out to people who are on that list. So where was I? Sorry, I have notes here. It's actually doing the sorry, I always trip up on that word. So actually doing the duodecification surgery is pretty in and out. The doctor met with me beforehand, and I got to choose a day of the month for it to land on. So for my new birthday, which is separated once every month, I got to pick a day, and it has to be the 28th of earlier because of leap years and February and all that stuff. So I decided on the 23rd, not for any real reason. It just seemed like a nice, like sturdy number. I think it's prime. But yeah, it's just a nice number. So the actual surgery was an outpatient procedure. So once they treat you, you can like pretty much leave immediately. The symptoms clear up immediately. But the thing is, your whole like calendar system is in a pretty weak state after the surgery. So you still have to like heal so the pieces like adhere properly to like their dates. So for healing from chronological surgery is that unlike normal spatial type surgeries where you need time to heal from them, you actually need like space to heal from a temporal surgery. So before I went under, the hospital and my insurance company and the Manna Charitable Foundation, which I had never heard of before, but apparently they can schedule this stuff. They helped me schedule a circumnavigatory flight in order to provide the healing space. So the point of it is to get you in one full lap around the world to increase the cumulative displacement. So basically you just like go around the world the whole time, and your cumulative displacement is now like the radius of the Earth, the circumference of the Earth. And that gives you a lot of space for that healing. So despite the name, it's not usually one flight. The way it works is they schedule you to transfer to different flights as you travel around in order to optimize for cost and time, because chartering a single flight to go around the world is really expensive. So these flights can be anything from civilian passenger flights to jump seats on like FedEx planes. But I only had passenger flights, thankfully. I didn't have to sit on those jump seats. But I was in coach the whole time, which was honestly miserable. But apparently I healed up really well, so I can't complain too much. So after all of that, I got a few follow-up appointments with my chronologist to make sure everything was good and healed. I had to see him again in I have to see him again in like 2 years. But last I heard, my calendar is in order. There's no latent inflammation, which is the best news you can get in this situation. So yeah, it's been good. It's definitely been a change. So actually living with duodecification is logistically a little complicated, because my birthday doesn't land on a particular month. Entering forms is really annoying. I'm a programmer at work, and if you ever heard the phrase falsehoods programmers believe about time, you can lump this into that. Government forms are more generally agreeable. You don't have to enter the month most of the time. You just can put NA or just leave them blank, and they'll get it. They're trained for that. But if an organization forces you to put a month, then you either have to send them a letter from your doctor to like force them to allow you to not enter in the month, or you pick a random month and hope that the piece for that month doesn't get too inflamed by bearing the full weight of that birthday for that particular case. And so age can be complicated because it's fractional for me now. So at time of recording, it's late March, and I haven't had my birthday yet this month. So I'm 29.166 repeating because I've only had 2 twelfths so far. But generally, I just round it up when I tell people my age. So when someone asks me in the street how old I am, I say I'm 30. And finally, for celebrating, because each birthday is only 1/12, it means that nominally I only do 1/12 of the celebration, but I don't really celebrate before, so not much has changed here. I don't really celebrate my birthday, so it's not that big of a deal. And I think that's all I had to say about this. It's been kind of a wild ride, but I'm really glad that I'm in a better place now. And so if you have any questions for me, or if you want to share, if you're going through this yourself and you want to share your own experiences, or did a different surgery or something like that, just share in the comments. Feel free to comment below. But yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.